Good evening and a warm welcome to all our viewers to an amazing and an informative discussion on MEP services in healthcare. Let us find out what is the MEP design process and coordination in healthcare facilities, how to engineer environments that promote healing and well-being. With immense pleasure, we welcome our prominent panel from the healthcare and design industry. Mr. Akhil Ganatra, Managing Director, Clancy Global, who is also our moderator for today's session. Mr. Rupesh Gujarati, Director, Electromech Consultants. Mr. Amod Dikshit, Managing Director, Dikshit Consultants. Mr. Udam Kumar, DGM, Group Head, Maintenance and Projects, Wockhardt Hospitals. Let us start with a short AV and thereafter Mr. Akhil Ganatra will be taking it ahead. Thank you.
Hello everyone. So first I'd like to thank IDAC for holding this event. We get to speak about engineering services for healthcare assets, and sort of in the recent past all of us have seen webinars with architects and developers or hospital operators speaking on this. This is a great platform for design engineers, and with Udham being there, sort of how healthcare assets are even operated to come in the forefront. So I'll quickly start with a little presentation where I can do an introduction for each one on our panel. Uh, there are 11 points that I've put together as thought starters for this event, so I'll put those across as well. And from there, we'll move to Udham, then Amod, and finally Rupesh. So starting my presentation. So on the panel, we have three engineers with a design background, and unfortunately, Mr. Tulsi couldn't make it. We're in trying times, and we only hope that nothing too terribly bad has happened there. So all of us wishing for his health. And we've got Udham now today with us, who's got a operational background as well. The idea is to be incrementally efficient, adaptive, and productive. I mean, typically, the biggest problem we see in the industry is the designers disengage when the operators engage. I feel it's an optimum time in the industry now whereby the designers will stay engaged with the operators to see how the systems within the assets are working versus what were the design consideration. So welcome everyone to the panel. So we're transitioning into a data economy. with application of technology and sustainability getting accentuated significantly. With that said, one of the conversations that I've had with Amod before is that the engineering and the sciences have not changed. It's just how we apply them and the intensity of its implementation that's changing significantly. So after this note of mine, Udham will take the panel and take us through what are the components of MEP services within a healthcare asset. So you sort of set a landscape for the entire engineering front of things. We'll move on to Amod, who will bring more focus on air conditioning and ventilation systems, and especially the considerations that we take for these. Then we'll have Rupesh go on, where we'll talk about site electricals or stirs the electrical consumption, efficiency, measures, lighting, and safety. The four panel members will take over of what you're expecting out of Tulsi in terms of what does it take or what are the woes and measures of maintaining systems and operating the uptime of these assets. As I said, there are 11 thought starters, and we're just going to very quickly cover them as points and not go too much in detail. Is first computational fluid dynamics. Is it the right time now that air conditioning systems are assessed with computational fluid dynamics, especially for hospitals, which are becoming critical applications now? There's a great case for it, and how learnings from sample sets can be applied to larger assets. Airlock lobbies, something that as designers, both Rupesh and Amod will agree that we've looked at in terms of clinical applications, pharmaceutical applications, and how these could entrench into healthcare assets now to achieve better air tightness of spaces, because that's something which doesn't get spoken about as much. Increased grades of air purification, and I'm sure Amod will cover a lot of this, whereby what we would typically look at an healthcare asset with a comfort cooling application, except for the OTs or the isolation rooms. Is there a case for higher air purification through the entire system? Monitoring energy consumption and efficiency measures. A quick fact for everyone, 60% of reduction in power use in any smart infrastructure project comes out of the consciousness of the user of where the power is going and what are the incremental measures that can be taken to retrofit to make it a more energy efficient asset. And then these are just some points I'm going to leave with, and sort of move on to Udham to talk about the MEP systems in healthcare. So lux levels, color temperature, and lighting controls. How does that affect task lighting, mood lighting, indirect lighting, and daylight-based controls in some sense? Breakdown and maintenance of electrical systems. Of what are the predictive measures you can take? What are the SOPs we follow? Reuse of recycled water, efficient disposition of solid waste management is going to become really important, and somewhere the clinicality and its operations will become even more important. And finally, the last 2 points where we're looking at actionable intelligence. We've had intelligent building management systems in projects since years now. They've become a checklist, they're there, the box is checked. But how do we get actionable intelligence from it? CCTV analytics with social distancing, masks, all that coming in. So these are some thought starters that I would like to set this panel discussion ahead with. Let's move on to Udham. Would you please take us through?
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank IDEC to giving me an opportunity to participate for this webinar to tell about to brief about the hospital MEP services. If we talk about the MEP services, its name itself, MEP, it's mechanical, electrical, and plumbing services. I'll go through by the detail brief you. See, if you talk about the MEP, it's mechanical services in hospital In any building, maximum is HVAC, MGPS, and patient elevator is come the mechanical services in the hospitals. If we talk about the electrical services, all utility equipments like transformers, DG set, UPS, and all types of panels. If we talk about the plumbing services, all related to water, storage like a storage, the treatment, distributions, and waste treatment. These are come on the basic three criteria. If you go, I'll take you through the detail by one. First, I'll take you through the mechanical services in the hospitals. In the HVAC, high ventilation air conditioner is totally responsible for keep indoor air quality safe, hygiene, and comfortable temperature to patients and staff. Also, they are very much, HVAC is very much responsible for infection prevention control in the hospital. If the HVAC, if the air balancing system is the negative positive of the isolation, negative positive in the OT, air lock system is not proper, it going to be very difficult to manage, to control infection prevention control in the hospital. Now, MGPS is medical gas pipeline system is responsible for proper gas supply in the across the hospital, like oxygen, nitrous oxide, medical gas, vacuums. The patient elevator, hospital elevator is called as a patient elevator, but this patient elevator is different from the other kinds of the elevators. Like, I'll tell you, suppose if you talk about light should be comfortable for the patient. Doors should be wide, because why is required? Because the patient with the trolley, with the bed should come inside very smoothly. And car operation button, if you compare with the other elevator, it's commonly down in the hospital's elevator, patient elevator. Now talk about the electrical services. In hospital, the electrical services should like that. The electrical distribution should be in the hospital to ensure proper operations in an emergency, because everybody knowing the hospital services are being life, we are threatening the life, we have to anyhow save the life, emergency, and maintain to government accreditation as well. Few of the things we require to take the certificate accreditation for hospital. So it's required to hospital government accreditation as well, and maintenance of the all electrical facility in the hospital, and regular testing alternative power system as well, and should be carried out without interruption of the hospital services. This means simply if the electrical system is required the standby system, such like in the testing support DG testing, if required to do the services of the transformer, is required to do the services of the panels and the UPS, everything is required to be N+1, a standby system for the hospitals. Now talk about the plumbing services. As I talked earlier also, the plumbing source is all about the water. If we talk about the water source, the water is come from the borewell, either municipal corporation supply, either tank. Then we go for the water filtration system, the water treatment plant, a reverse osmosis plant. Then we go for the disinfection, because in the hospital, the treatment, the drinking water as well for dialysis water, as per the OT water, is required to do the total hygiene and safe water. Then after disinfection, we take care of the even a storage of the water, the proper clean tank, proper coverage, even that storage is relaxation from the sunlight, because everybody know if the water will come contact with the sunlight, this creates a lot of bacteria, algae. Then distribution. Every hospital has the some kind of disposition system, just like hydropneumatic systems, pump, etc. And then last, after user all the area, the water comes is the dirty water. It is very, very important is the wastewater management system and discharges. So every hospital has to be STP and ETP. After treatment, if the water quality is as per the government pollution control, you can the reusable of the water either you for garden purpose, either you can throw the outside the government municipal corporation. Thank you very much once again for giving me this platform to speak about the hospital MAP. Thank you. Thank you, Akhil.
Thank you, Udam, for taking us through that. Udam made some really important points with regards to infection control, both at the front of the air side and the water side. Also, in terms of the redundancy of the electrical systems and how power systems work with N+1 configuration. We're going to move on to Amod, who's got extensive experience, I may say, for air conditioning and ventilation systems. And when Udam spoke about infection control, the air side of the system, the air conditioning system becomes really very important. The Banton is in your hand. Amod, please take us through what you have.
So thank you, Akhil, and thank you, IDAC, for giving me this platform and to discuss about the MEP systems on healthcare. Of course, today I will be speaking on the HVAC systems, which is required for the healthcare facilities. Now, as you know, that healthcare itself is a huge subject, and to summarize it in 15 minutes or 45 minutes is going to be very, very difficult. So we are going to run through a little bullet points like as Uddam has done. So I'll just take you through the basic aspects of HVAC systems, and then during our discussions, we can elaborate further. Right. So when we spoke about any kind of a healthcare or a hospital that we are talking about, it's going to have a lot of different zones. And the basic zones which we are trying to put it in, the critical areas, I'm just giving you a few examples like the operation theater or the isolation areas, non-critical areas, which are the admins, the OPDs, the cafeteria, etc. The 24/7 areas, which are your intensive care units, the IPDs, the OPDs, the MRI, CT scans, CSSDs, and the service areas, which are going to be your back office areas like the laundry, linen, basements, dirty areas, etc., etc. The basic aspects when you design any kind of a healthcare system, there are a lot many things just beyond air conditioning. It's the temperature, which is going to be different for every kind of room that you are going to use, be it operation theater, be it isolation areas, be it even your general OPD areas. So the temperatures are going to be different. It might change a little bit, which of course we will discuss in detail later on. The relative humidity. Now, as we have all found out that the relative humidity which best suits for any kind of an application when it comes to air conditioning is 40 to 60%. So it's always better that we have it between 40 to 60%. The only difference between a hospital and any other application is that in this particular application, humidity control is a must, and it should be done very, very effectively and efficiently. Pressure differentials is another aspect that we need to have. As we were talking about isolation, we were talking about contamination. So it is very important to have pressure differentials and pressure gradients between the infected and non-infected areas. So certain areas like operation theaters would be positive pressure, isolation rooms which are of both types depending upon what kind of patient is coming in for isolation. So it could be positive or negative. Filtration is a very, very important thing because that is something where your entire infection control is going to be part of. So non-critical areas, a minimum of MERV 14 is what we are talking about. I'm not talking about the dirty areas. I'm purely talking about the non-critical areas of a hospital and the critical areas, of course, with HEPA. Fresh air changes, or rather I would say air changes, two types. One is fresh air changes and the total room air changes, which are very, very important, first and foremost, to dilute whatever are the infections that are there and to remove them as fast from the room as possible. So fresh air changes, which will compensate for the exhaust that is happening, and the total room air changes is how fast the room air is going to be filtered through your air handling system or through the filters that are there. Airflow patterns is very, very important, which normally is neglected in any kind of a normal comfort application, but it is very, very important that airflow be managed very, very well. Laminar flow absolutely required in operation theaters, and unidirectional flow in isolation room. It cannot be a multidirectional flow. Of course, one most important aspect is to ensure that you have enough redundancy and standby systems for every part of the hospital. Another aspect in the hospital which you're talking about is the zoning. Now, zoning, when we are talking about, we have to make sure that the air side zoning is very, very important from contamination control and infection control. So individual areas are individual zones. That is your most important point. Do not mix one area with the other and make it a common zone supplying with a common air handling system or something like that. Application oriented zoning is very, very important. Again, that certain applications have to be a separate zone and the other applications have to be a different zone. Critical areas have to be independent as a single zone, irrespective of what the size of the zone is. It could be 200 square feet, but it could be an independent zone. It could be a 2000 square feet, but it has to be a different zone. So zoning is very, very important when it comes to critical areas. Floor by floor isolation is of course important, not only from HVAC point of view, but also fire point of view. So that is very, very important there. Critical and non-critical areas cannot be mixed. So that is what I covered under the previous point. But it is it is important that critical and non-critical areas cannot be clubbed with a single machine, with a single air handling system. Non-critical and public areas also cannot be mixed in, because the thing is, though it is a non-critical area, the people who are coming into public areas could carry infections along with them and transfer it to the non-critical, the patients in the non-critical area. So we have to be very careful on that. This is basically, so far the ventilation systems are concerned, there are various types. I'll go very fast on this. We got the staircase pressurization, we got the lift and lift lobby pressurization, the corridor and fire makeup and exhaust. Can't leave a single corridor without makeup air or exhaust air. They cannot become stagnant, they cannot be stratified, they have to be continuously ventilated. Basement ventilation, of course, toilet ventilation, STP OWC ventilation is again important. Mechanical room ventilation, DG exhaust with a scrubber essentially, and kitchen exhaust essentially with a scrubber. So these are the ventilation systems required. A very short take on what are the types of possible systems when we talk about the air conditioning systems. I'm not getting into the debate of which is better and which is not, but these are the most preferred ones, where the chill water system is most preferred. Water cooled is much more preferred than the air cooled, because there's a lot of gray water available through the STP, the recycled water that Akhil just spoke about in the beginning. So water cooled, but where there is no space for cooling towers, no space for plant rooms, there could be a possibility of an air cooled system, or if there's a dearth of water. VRF systems, mostly for smaller hospitals, that can be designed, where we always feel that critical areas should have standby systems. We can also look at hybrid systems, combination of chill water and VRF, where the 24/7 and critical areas can be done by chill water based systems, and the comfort or the non-critical can be done on VRF. Operation and maintenance, of course, Uddam will speak more about it because he's the expert on that. But all systems, whatever we think about, should be designed in such a way that the operation of maintenance is easier. It should not happen that the maintenance personnel is not able to reach the filters, not able to clean the strainers, not able to maintain everything. So it is very, very important to have enough space for maintenance. We have to select the system in such a way maintenance can be done over the years, because it is very critical in any hospital to maintain all the systems very well. As Akhil has said, that 60% of the power is consumed in mechanical services, out of which probably about 40-45% or even 50% is consumed by just HVAC part. So it is very important to maintain the HVAC system in such a way that it is spick and span and it works throughout the life at the highest efficiency. You should also maintain the provisions for any kind of future expansions, because what happens is that there will be a lot of changes that keep on happening in terms of requirements from the client side. Machines keep on changing, upgradations keep on happening, and therefore there should be enough space available for air handling to be replaced with a larger one, or additional chill water system to be added, etc. So from that point of view, that part also has to be taken up. So that's it from my side, Akhil, as the beginning. So over to you.
So, like I was saying, that it was great to hear from Amod in terms of criticality of air conditioning systems and ventilation system is way higher in healthcare. I feel that unfortunately within our country, we are still taking air conditioning at a comfort cooling application for healthcare assets. And
Absolutely.
Amod showed us the nuances of why it is not comfort cooling, and every space effectively matters a lot. Funnily enough, ICU infections are one of the major problems for the number of patients falling further ill or sorry, but even dying because of these things not being taken care of. So leaving it at that, let's move on to Rupesh, who's all geared up for telling us how the electrical systems are. And as Amod said, the air conditioning system, how can it be made more efficient? How can hospitals consume lesser power? Over to you, Rupesh.
Thank you so much, first of all, IDAC, to give me opportunity on this webinar for healthcare facility. Today, I'm going to cover up a few points with respect to electrical system in the healthcare buildings, majorly what we're talking about, the hospitals. Electrical system, basically, I want to start with one first point is monitoring of energy consumption at every point. It's actually a very important factor in healthcare facilities. So how do we do that? So there are different various load factors generally we see in the building, like HVAC system, electrical floor panels, utilities like STP, water treatment, ATP, pumping system. It could be hydropneumatic, it could be transfer pumps, external lighting, internal lighting, and another major load comes in the hospital is basically various medical and non-medical equipments. So when I think the monitoring, so individual these utilities we need to monitor at the load source itself of the respective panel, or it could be respective DB, so that the total consumption, how do we get accumulated as a part of a common bill or something. It can be identify which areas are consuming more power, so that effective measures can be taken to control the same. Next point, which was saying energy efficiency measures. When we saying about controlling of monitoring and controlling of energy consumption at the same time, how do we can minimize the electrical consumption? So there are various ways we can do that. Energy efficient measures to be considered to reduce the energy consumption and carbon footprint, which HVAC equipment we can select with higher COPs. We can take all the electrical motors with higher efficiency with the VFDs wherever it's possible, and major consumption goes in the energy light fixtures. We can select the energy efficient light fixtures. So something I am giving a brief about on lighting system, which is going to get we should use it in the hospital projects in many areas, which I'm going to brief you now. So basically, color and lighting can have impact on hospital lighting in terms of patients' health, and definitely at the same time, it is great importance has to satisfy the needs of the patients, medical and the nursing staff. So these are the three key factors: patients, medical staffs, and the nursing staffs. So we need to see their comfort and what environment they are going to work, they are going to get admitted, their wards. So accordingly, the lighting system need to be designed. So what we generally follow is basically IS 3646 Part 1, 1990 for the interior areas. This has been IS codes, we generally use it. Now, for the various areas, we are identifying the lighting of the ward should be cozy, and it should be with the pleasant atmosphere. Reception and waiting area should be with more. It goes with the different aesthetics. Maternity department luminaires should be with high ambient temperature and RH experience in room of special baby care rooms. OT area required generally very bright lights, and lux level need to be achieved from 10,000 to 30,000 lux, depend on the requirement of the hospital operators. I'm sorry. Laboratories generally we worked upon on 300 lux levels, and sometimes clean room luminaires get used. Next was the bed lights shall be mounted in such a way that it should be each bed should get sufficient light, and it can be properly. The controlling also, it's very important in bedsides. Next point I'm going to cover is basically the safety point of view, few measures, and what are the material we should use so that we can minimize the accidents in the hospitals. So electrical panels is basically nowadays what we started using is with internal arc test type for the better safety reason. Internal arc test basically give me basically the more advantage towards the quality of the panels in terms of using materials in the panels like busbar systems, then internal wiring, then you can say the installation and the arrangement, G arrangement for the switchgear and many more. Second, definitely when we see most of the buildings, we get accidents, lack of course, start with the short circuit. But short circuit again has there are internal number of reasons. So I personally feel effective earthing is very much important for the, of course, healthcare building and other building as well. So we need to design the earthing systems as per the proper rule, IA rules and NBC. So what we suggest is electrical equipment earthing for the transformer, ST panel, LT panels, IT and medical equipments as per the manufacturing guidelines or as per the codes. We need to have the separate earthing for UPS and operation theaters. We generally do that way. Hospital, again, we should emphasize for using more on metal conduits. Of course, it can be used either MS or GI, depend on environment conditions. All wires should be ZHFR, which are we to talk about zero halogen free. Of course, these are slightly costly, around 20%, 22% than the regular FRLS wire, but it is safety point of view, their withstand capacity is very good to fight with the fire. And next is basically energy efficient energy management in terms of so that we look at it as IBMS for monitoring and controlling of the various utilities. Last point which I want to, I think Amod and Akhil has already discussed on this, and basically what we, since hospital is a very critical application in terms of operation, so routine maintenance and the regular health checkup of all the equipments with AMC contracts of the utilities plays an important role to reduce the frequent breakdowns in the hospital. This is from my side. Over to Akhil. Thank you, Akhil.
I hope you all can hear me now.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Very much.
Excellent. I mean, one of the very important points that Rupesh has made, something that sort of tired out in terms of telling asset operators is that monitoring of electrical systems in terms of consumption at each distribution board or each circuit becomes very important, is because finally bolte na, like in Hindi you say boon boon se sagar banta hai. If you monitor it, then you will find the boon of sagar to be able to save a total energy for the project. So thank you everyone for giving your peace of mind to this and at least setting a framework. I want to break up into a discussion and start with a question which I think is very important, specifically when we speak about healthcare assets. The services are intense, right? So when you're looking at everything above the false ceiling, it can be quite unmaintainable. So let's hear two perspectives. Amod, air conditioning takes the maximum height within healthcare assets. At a design stage, what are the challenges that you face, and sort of how do you find your way around it? And Uddham, when you're maintaining these assets, you've got these large amount of services which are hidden above the false ceiling, and then you don't know what's happening with them. So if Amod, you could start with a view, and Uddham, if you could take over of how this coordination of services is a critical point in healthcare.
Of course, Nidhi.
Amod, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
This is one aspect which is always been a kind of a fight between the clients, the architects, and the consultants.
Always.
So it's like this, that when you have a 10-feet building, engineering services will get 1 foot. If you have a 15-feet building height, you still get 1 foot. If you have a 25-feet building height, you'll still get 1 foot. So now this is what is the fight always between the client architect and the consultants. But to be very honest, that is one aspect. But if you look at the total design aspect, we have actually convinced the clients and the architects, and we have come up with a system that engineering services is the backbone of any building. Without engineering services, the building doesn't function. It might look the most beautiful building, but without proper engineering services, it's going to be really, really difficult to operate it and, of course, to maintain it. Let us talk about when we started our careers, when there was no BIM, there was no 3D modeling, there was nothing available. So everything was actually put layer on layer on the same drawing, and then we used to have people who used to be experts only in making sections, So when sections were made, especially when you have to take care of the RCC consultants' requirements also, because the beam could be 600 deep, the beam could be a meter deep, the beam could be 300 deep, it all depends. There could be sunken slabs, because hospitals have got a lot of wet points, and when wet points come into play, of course, sunken slabs come into play. So all these put together, we used to have actually people making sections at each and every point. That is where, things became a little easier, and we used to tell the client that, or we used to tell the architect that engineering services are going to require a meter or 900 millimeters below the beam, and that is what is going to be it. It was very difficult to convince them, but over a period of time, it has been realized that yes, it is important. HVAC, as you know, is the elephant. हाथी निकल गया, सब निकल जाता है. So first they used to target how much space do you require. So we used to say, okay, these are the systems where in a hospital you cannot leave the return air open into the false ceiling. It has to be a ducted return air. Now that is something which is very important, because if you leave the return air, especially in critical areas, above the false ceiling, free to come back, it is going to collect all the dust above the false ceiling and load your filters like nobody's business. And of course, it is going to go through various zones, so probably get contaminated and then come back to the air handling unit. Now, air handling unit kitna karega? So it is imperative that the return should be ducted. Now, this requires a lot of, again, 3D perspectives in terms of crisscrossing, in terms of beams, in terms of other services, because you got the fire lines, you got the cable trays, you got the MGPS lines, everything is going, the chill water lines, everything is going above the false ceiling. And on top of that, you need to maintain it. So somebody will have to sometime go over there to clean up.
So this is where Uddham comes in, right? Because
yeah. So this is how
he's
actually
Uddham,
making,
because
yes. If you talk about taking the handover hospital or running operationals, I opened the 4 hospital in till now. I faced lot of the different exposure. I learned a lot for taking from the projects and running the hospital. See, if we talk about the everything aspects, when you somebody making the SOP of the guidelines of the working procedure of the OTHU, suppose you take the OTHU, the different HU, OT, ICU. The working principles say the XYZ when you make the hospital, the actuals, the air conditions due to the physically requirement of this area and the ducting level and the modification and chilled water piping, you will not get 100%. You will not get 100%. No one hospital, no one project get the 100% as per design. So this one thing. The second one thing, when you're going to take over the things, all the parameter, all the setting, all the operating procedure, all the checklist, what you have done, what going to be done, and also accessible point, main point. With the maximum time I faced the problem, lots of problem in the hospital. Suppose they have fit the FCU, there is no way to go inside and take the filter and take the FCU coil. What will happen after 6 months, after 8 months? After running this entire system and the HU and the FCU, the cooling coil will be jammed. There is no way access to clean the things. So I used to force the project team, I need the accessible point. If they are saying no, it's not possible, I usually tell you take out and show me how it's possible. This thing.
So Uddham, this is what Uddham, sorry to interrupt you over here, but this is what we talk about. When we are designing the system, we ask for spaces, we ask for trapdoors, we ask for inspection doors large enough for the machine to be brought down, for a person to go in, clean the coils, clean the filters, change the motors, check out the valves, all those things. But a lot of time, the battle is not won. So the trapdoor is half the size.
I mean, Amod, this is what it
Akhil,
is,
but,
right? I mean,
That's okay. That's okay.
but nowadays I think
But
with
the
Beam, a lot of
operation
issues
of
are get sorted. Akhil,
Yeah,
you agree with
things
me?
have
Because
changed.
of Beam, yes, things have changed now.
That's what I'm saying.
Because of Beam, I think it is helping a lot now. Because of the clashing, and it is helping a lot, no doubt.
Yeah, and nowadays it's fashion to every hospital management to cut the cost, minimize the cost.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very, very critical for the engineering to how with the running of the hospital, the 200 patient is there. You are going to something repair, something maintenance to the things which is very, very important. How you are going to do without a standby system? It's very, very critical.
Very difficult.
The people are the management are not understanding things. If they think these are the things within the life and death is it can be happen either a small mistake. Suppose if you talk about the air condition of the OT, if the things is positive, you are doing the something the surgery in the OT or OT suddenly work in the negative pressure. What will happen? If the now the COVID scenario is happening, every OT is in the positive OT. We have some modification, we have done some negative. What will happen? Some COVID positive patient is there as operation is happening, or suddenly HVAC work is positive pressure. So difficult. People are now, they didn't understand to starting from the designing what will happen if the things will go wrong. But now I think in the COVID-19, the people are starting to understand what is the criticality of the MEP of the hospitals, and what is it. Very, very important regarding the MEP of the hospital is required to backbone of the hospital is required to be made focus, proper design, proper standby system, N+N is required to be hospitals.
Sorry, Udham, this sort of Amod and Nupesh brings that classic problem that we as design engineers have been facing, no?
Absolutely.
Sort of where do you end the fight, or sort of when do you stop fighting? I think we are marred with saying Haji sir and just going ahead with things. And this is where I keep saying that, it's very important now, especially as Udham is also saying, this is the phase in which services and their importance is getting higher. This is the phase where, as design engineers, we need to be involved with the operations of the asset for 2 years or 3 years. Just by designing that, like Udham started the conversation, right? It's literally a disengagement point. The designers have given all their SOPs. You've got a free fall in between, and then you've got the operators to hold the free fall from somewhere. Who took the decisions, why they took it, doesn't go anywhere. So again, I mean, it's a crucial point for us to cover. I want to sort of take this to another point in terms of breakdown of electrical systems, sort of, again, Dupesh and Udham, if Dupesh first, you could weigh in, and then sort of Udham can tell us his experience as an operator. I mean, electrical systems have become functional, right? We say that if it is installed as per design, there is never going to be a problem. Air conditioning mein problem ho sakta hai, but electrical mein to kabhi problem nahi hota hai. So, so
electrical
can you take that and
I'll just small brief, see.
Please, I'll leave it to Rupesh and Udham if you could, have a little bit of banter on this, because these are two critical systems, yeah.
Out of this, Udham has rightly said ki N+1 system. I always tell all the clients, even though it is a hotel or hospital, we should have the N+1 system. Of course, not maybe with 100% redundancy, but at least maybe 50% redundancy at least. So definitely, when we start with redundancy in terms of breakdowns, when we check the breakdowns, majorly it start with fault at maybe at the panel level, or maybe at the transformer level, or maybe any other HVAC equipment. So definitely we cannot have every panel and DBs as standby, but at least at the source, whenever we are from where we are getting the power, say transformer, at least we should have probably the standby transformer, or maybe you can take 2 transformer with the sharing load pattern, that kind of thing, so that in case of breakdown we can always switch over to other transformer. Same thing even DG sets also, because I know in Mumbai definitely we don't require much DG set, but as and when required, this DG set doesn't work because they're not been maintained properly. That's a fact. In Mumbai it's happened. So even outskirts of Mumbai, same thing has happened. So even for DG sets, need to have the N+1 configuration, so that at least you can have something on standby. Same thing in electrical panel. Of course, we cannot have the feeders like one incomer, you cannot have the 2 incomer. But at least the selection of systems is selection of the breakers in such a way, at least there will be minimize of breakdown in terms of fault. So selection of Port level, it is very plays important role. Earthing plays very important role when you design the electrical panels, short circuit levels, and of course the cable selection as well. Now most of the clients, telling us now, "Arey, तेरे को क्यों चाहिए copper cable? डालना aluminum cable." दो से बड़ा डाल, लेकिन डाल aluminum cable, but they don't understand. So we at certain as a designer, I personally feel that at certain extent you should raise your hand. No, I want copper, I want copper, I want aluminum, that way. So there are many ways we can reduce this breakdown problems in the hospital industry, because everywhere now, even UPS, when I was doing one hospital, the client said, "Why you want the UPS standby? You want 300 kVA, I given you 300 kVA. I said, give me at least 100 kVA standby, so that in case, because see, battery UPS, major problem comes with the batteries, as far as our experience is concerned. So at least you need to bypass that one and then add on one system. So at least your operation theater critical load, what we hospital call as a critical load, it's always been taken care of with this N+1 configurations."
I mean, Uddam, if you could weigh in of, what, with all this taken care of, what are the problems you face at an electrical systems level?
Yeah, if we talk about the electrical services in the hospital, as per my experience, so the different hospital, I learned a lot different in the electrical services, the failure. If we talk about the most common failure is come to always with I faced with the earth problem. In the hospital,
Agree.
Everybody know that lots of the critical equipment there. If we talk about the MRI, if we talk about the CT scan, ultrasound, ECG machine, lots of, even if we talk about the ventilator, everything, the all equipment need the proper earthing, 100%, zero needs. If something goes on, even the 0.5 ohm also, it gives different, it differ, the reading will show. So my biomedical, I always discuss lots of time, my discussion happening with the biomedical engineer, why it's the earthing is coming back. So I lots of all hospital I'm facing normally in the summertime, basically the earth problem. These are first thing. In the different, if you talk about, I remember in the Pune, I was opening the hospital. I didn't take the name of the hospital. I faced the evening I was started the transformer load. We taken the load, entire hospital were working on the load. Suddenly 10 o'clock I got the call. There is no power supply. I run away, came to hospital. I see what has happened. I started the DG running on my patient in the hospital. I was running on the DG on the 12 hour. I started checking what happened. Somebody by mistakenly in the high tension cables, somebody put the nails. The main high tension cable. Okay. So what I mean, in the project time, it's very difficult because lots of people are working, lots of laborers are working. Some are semi-technical, semi-skilled, some are skills, some are not a skilled people, or simultaneous. The lots of work is going simultaneous. The civil working going, the plumbing work is going, even HVAC working going, electrical working going. Nobody knows what will happen or when happen. For hospital, if the patient is inside and something goes wrong, it's very, very critical to take care of the hospital. If you talk about my concern, if something goes wrong in a hospital, I always think it's happened because me. It's my thing. So I always take care as my life. The patient is like that.
So
very
this is
serious.
Again,
aspect.
Again, we get a panel like this to open up, how do you say, gaps within the industry, right? When Amod was interacting about this, it came down to where do you put your foot down when it is at the design stage in itself.
Has to be. It has to be there.
It has to be.
And when the way started talking, we started getting a perspective of that one thing is design, but is it getting executed as per design? When is it getting executed? Because you're getting lost in transition, because while the facility is getting built, everything is getting executed at the same time. And what is the integrity of that execution is something that is lacking significantly. So I'm going to park this conversation and move on to the last conversation, because we've got limited time, but again, a conversation that sort of engages all of us. And I'd like to say exposes some of the things in the industries that are staring in our eyes to change. If they're staring in your eyes to change, when are we going to change it? I think we as a panel are responsible to put our foot down somewhere. So, sort of the last point, intelligent building management systems, extra low voltage systems. They've got sensory points with air conditioning in terms of your filtration being able to get checked and air flows being able to get checked, to, like Rupesh said, VFD based equipment. So what we see is that we are checking all the boxes in terms of the building management systems being in there, but are we using it effectively? If each of you could give a view, Amod, we could start with you giving your view, moving to Rupesh and then to Uddham.
Okay, so as we said, science is always evolving, and we have to ensure that the latest technology is being utilized. So when we talk about IBMS systems, all services, be it HVAC, electrical, fire and life safety, everything goes on your BMS system. We design it well. We make sure that all the aspects are taken care of. It has to be executed well and then handed over well. So nowadays, very frankly speaking, things were a little different 20-25 years ago, where the BMS systems were actual duds. To be very honest, let me be very blunt about it. So if you would have seen any BMS system which was installed even 10 years ago, you would say that okay, 90% of the BMS systems are not even working. They are there. I spent 1 crore of rupees on that, but what is the result? Nothing. But today, each and every equipment has now become intelligent. The thing is, 4 intelligent men do not make any sense till all the 4 intelligent men speak to each other. And that is where this IBMS platform comes into play. And we have to ensure that HVAC speaks with electrical, the electrical speaks with fire and life safety, the fire and life safety speaks with everybody. So this is what is now getting into it. AI, your AI, artificial intelligence, is also taking a big role. People are working on it. How the valves are to be operated, how the VFDs are to be operated, how the chillers are to be operated is all slowly and steadily going on AI. The major reason is that people are very afraid of human interface. If the BMS doesn't work, then the chief engineer is going to say, or Uddham Singh and his colleagues are going to say, "Bhago, yahan pe kuch to problem hai." Whereas when you talk about the IBMS and the AI, it gives you a prediction that okay, things are going a little differently in this particular zone, and this is what is looking like is going to be your next incidence. If something is going to fail. Now that is where it has to be caught in advance. That is where the IBM has to work. That is where the maintenance team has to make sure that all equipment are maintained. Initially, if you see, as I think Uddham ji just spoke about, filter cleaning. So I'll just take a very small example of filter cleaning. There are, let's say, a 500-bed hospital. Now imagine 500-bed hospital, maybe 20 operation theaters, a huge public area where OPDs, IPDs, and all those things. Imagine the number of air handling systems would be there in that particular building. Even if you have a maintenance team of 20 people, each person running after filter cleaning, how many days it is going to take for one circle to complete? Now, what we have on the IBMS, we got a pressure differential. So if the pressure differential is as per the set point, your filter is clean. As the filter starts getting clogged, your pressure starts building up, and it gives you an alarm that, boss, this particular filter is going to get choked in a little while. And that is where person can go well in advance, not wait for the filter to clog, for the coil to clog, and then go and replace it or repair it or clean it as required. So this is where the IBMS comes into play.
Predictive maintenance is what
Absolutely.
you're saying about.
Yes.
Rupesh,
Yes.
you want to weigh in with not only the electrical system, but
Understood.
also
I'm coming to that.
CCTV.
Yeah. Now, IBMS definitely what Amod was extended that all electromechanical equipment gets monitor control through DDC panels. So I think largely now what I'm saying is definitely electrical and mechanical equipments are getting monitor control. Another aspect is the ALV systems. Majorly in hospitals, what we called as security systems, security surveillance, which we talk about fire alarm, public address systems, nurse call system, CCTV cameras. These are the areas where these also need to be effectively you can say collaborate with the proper system with fire alarm, then get connected with the firefighting system, then gives the proper alarm to the ventilation system, because again the fire it's related to giving the signal to the fire ventilation systems, security systems in terms of CCTV cameras. And another thing important is the IT solutions. What we're talking about, the IT infrastructure for the hospitals. I think this all need to be, can be, completely integrated with the building management system. Then we called as it is complete bucket of IBMS system. And nowadays is very good thing, what we was talking about, we don't get the height on the false ceiling, but now it's again a lot of IoT based solutions are available. So my major cost and the spaces above the false ceiling gets saved for wiring and cabling also. So this is what I think we should take it, and definitely now things are changing and a lot of artificial intelligence is also coming in the picture. So things are now getting much better compared to earlier older days.
Uttam, when we come to you, it comes to reality. That design के अंदर हम लोग बोल देंगे.
ये designer के design करके निकल गए. I know.
हाँ, but
See,
how does the IBMS system get used actively? Is remote intelligence, predictive maintenance, is it something that you're seeing on the floor?
See, what happened basically, I've seen, if you talk about, I was in the hotel as well. I did work in the Oberoi group of hotel and the Starwood Hotel as well, and then came in the hospital. I knowing the IBS system and the BMS system and integrated system from the last 20 years. But if you talk about the earlier, the 20 years before, when I was in the Oberoi, I used to use with the Siemens BMS system. The project engineer used to come. They was the very good knowledge about the BMS systems. If you talk about the 10 years back, when I started the pre-opening of my hospital,
Gentlemen,
BMS system, the process in the you will do this calibration. Can you show me the graph? Okay. This is the first thing. The second thing, the operational point of view, the very few engineers is able to understand all the parameters, all the algorithm.
hello.
How it's
Gentlemen?
going. So what will happen? The algorithm of the peoples of the BMS and the integration system, even the firefighting system, the programming, all the things, very little people understand this. The third thing, nowadays everywhere the cost saving. If you talk about the manpower, if you talk about the building, everything, the people who employed, they are not 100% technically qualified, not as skilled. Okay, if you going to run the, I can say, the horse riding, if you doesn't have the proper horse, how are you going to ride your horse riding? This kind of thing, I'm talking about the actual reality. It's happening in across the industry. But nowadays, if you talk about nowadays, I observed last 4-5 years. Now the concept has changing. The people are understanding. The people are knowing what is the requirement of the building safety, what is the requirement of the air condition, what is the requirement of the firefighting system. Even the government of India is very much very much aggression. They are forcing the things. This need to be done as per the National Building Code as well. If you talk about the civil infrastructure, if you talk about the HVAC, if you talk lots of things, even JCI, NABS, they are putting the guidelines. They are doing, you have to do this, then only your hospital will be accredited. So that's why if you talk about, I am very happy now the government and the other bodies, they are forcing to do as per the guidelines of the safety protocol of the patient, safety protocol of the employee or staff as well.
So clearly we've run out of time, but towards the end of it, can we have just one line from each one of you? We'll start with Uttam first, and the same way we did the presentation. Uttam, one line from you, then Amod, and then Rupesh, please.
In regards what?
Just to summarize the conversation of what will be the last message you want us to have as an impression in everyone's brain.
The very simple hospital MEP is very critical. I can see it's just like a C. There is a low. If you go by the detail, it's very much you have to learn. You have to entire life to learn. Entire life to you have to act on the actualization. And whatever you are doing, I am very happy that I am working in the hospital. I am doing for the hospital job. Or people are coming with the lots of in the problem, or they are going with the very happily. That one thing which is I'm very happy.
Thank you, Uttam. Amod, one line from you, please.
I started with the line and I'm going to end with the line. 45 minutes to an hour is too less to talk about hospitals. Even if we take a day, I think it will be not enough. So there is a lot of learning to do. And I think such kind of webinars, which are going to take subject by subject, if you talk about each subject, I think then to talk about hospitals will make more sense. So I hope we have more such
Rupesh,
webinars
sorry.
like that. Thank you.
Okay, I feel we should look at more energy efficient building design with sustainability.
We are all good from our end. Thank you for having us over. And I'm glad we've covered MEP in healthcare with enough depth of both design, execution, and operating it as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.